On this video, I'll show you the installation and setup of Swann's 5 megapixel DVR-4980. 5 megapixel is 2.4 times better than 1080p. So what I'll do is compare both resolutions as I place both cameras to the test by having them side by side. We'll get to see the difference the resolution really makes when it comes to video evidence. I'll also show you how you can talk to your DVR via the Google Assistant. Hey Google, ask Swann Security to cast channel 6.
Okay, starting the stream.
I also show you how I install one of my 5 megapixel cameras so you have an idea of what to expect. I recently bought a 3K series smart security system from Swann, and I wanted to share an overview of the unit so that you have an idea of what you can expect from the system. Alongside that, I wanted to share a new feature that the Swann 5 megapixel camera has, and that's the fact that it works with Google Assistant. So I'll show you that so you can integrate it or incorporate it into your smart home. Before I had this 5 megapixel camera system, I did have the 1080p camera system, which is a Pro Series system from Swann. So I thought it would be a good idea to compare the image quality between the 1080p camera and the 5 megapixel camera. So in this video, I'll also do that as well as show you the difference between the two DVR systems. I should also probably mention that a lot of the hard work has already been done when I updated to the 1080p Pro Series system. So really the only thing that I had to do is change the DVR and change the cameras. In the box, I got a 8-channel DVR with 2TB hard drive, 4 5 megapixel cameras, 4 18-meter BNC cables, 1 internet cable, 1 HDMI cable, 1 power adapter and splitter, 1 mouse, mounting screws and plugs for the camera, a quick start guide, and a couple of theft deterrent stickers. So as I discussed at the beginning of the video, what I did was I did a comparison between the 1080p camera and the new 5 megapixel camera, which you can see on the right. Basically, I parked the van in front of the two cameras and just saw how the registration plate visibility changed as I moved the van away from the cameras. So I started at about 13 meters. And I kept moving back, and this is what basically you can see. The camera on the left is the 1080p camera, and the camera on the right is the 5 megapixel camera. When we reach about 18 meters, then we can really start to see the difference between the cameras. So this is what you would see at 20 meters. And this is what you would see at 22 meters. I also compared the 5 megapixel camera that's mounted up high with the one that was on the driveway. And what you can see is that the image quality is really quite good for the 8 meter and 10 meter distances that I measured. I also tried to have a look at the plates for the parked cars on the road, but I was not able to get a very clear image. At the least though, it does give you an idea of what you can expect. Hey Google, ask Swann Security to cast channel 6.
Okay, starting the stream.
Swann Security also now fully integrates with Google Assistant. So what this basically means is that you can now view your camera footage and live footage directly on TV using Google Assistant and Chromecast. So to do this, all you have to do is follow the on-screen procedure, and what that will do is that will actually lead you to the Google app. In the Google app, what you'll do is you will search for Swann Security once you have signed in. Then you will link to the Swann Security, and then you will log into Google. Once you have logged in, you can now go back to the main page where it will say accounts linked once the linking process is done. Finally, you'll go back to the Home Safe View app and you will follow the on-screen procedure where it will ask you to actually log into your Google account. Once you are done, the registration will be successful and you can ask your Google device to ask Swann Security to cast live camera footage directly to your TV. Hey Google, ask Swann Security to cast channel 7.
Okay, starting the stream.
Hey Google, ask Swann Security to cast channel 4.
Okay, starting the stream.
Hey Google, ask Swann Security to stop broadcasting channel 4. As a side note, you can create shorter commands and this will help you to communicate better with your Google device. You could say something like, "Hey Google, show me the front door." But you will need to do this inside of Google system. Another key feature is the push notifications in the app, which allows you to get notified whenever there's a PIR detection. What this means is that whenever there's a thermal detection from any of the cameras, it will notify you. And that's really useful because it allows you to have very few false detections as when using motion detection. Another really great feature that Swann has introduced is the fact that you can now upload still images to your Dropbox account. This is really easy to set up and I would highly recommend doing it. If by chance one day your DVR was stolen with all the video evidence on its hard drive, what this does is it allows you to still have the still image evidence online, and what that means is that you can outsmart professional burglars who do tend to target your DVR. So what you're seeing now is some of the recorded footage from one of the 5 megapixel cameras. I have then zoomed in on the image so that you can have a look at the image quality. And this is footage from the camera in the night. I've also zoomed into this one so you can have a look at the quality of the image in the night. This is a comparison between the day and the night of the 5 megapixel 3K camera. And this is another example of a 5 megapixel camera. This one is actually installed on the opposite side of the driveway. Okay, now this image shows you the difference between the 1080p camera and the 3K camera when you just look at it without zooming in. Looking at the 5 megapixel cameras, the first thing you should note is that the recording resolution is 2560 by 1920 and the viewing angle is 70 degrees. Also, the camera has a night vision distance of up to 100 feet, which is 30 meters. The camera uses a PIR thermal motion sensor, which is called True Detect by Swann, and that has a range of up to 10 meters. It's IP66 rated, but it doesn't have a microphone like maybe some of the more expensive cameras do. The last thing worth noting is that the camera is completely adjustable in terms of tilt and rotation. You also have that the cable can run directly behind the camera or it can run out to the side. Looking at the DVR-4980, the unit works both with Windows and Mac, and it can be viewed directly from your computer using the Home Safe View app. Also, it can be viewed using iOS, Android, or 3G, 4G smartphones and tablets. On the back of the DVR 4980, you'll find the 8 channels of input for the cameras, the 4 audio inputs and 1 audio output, the VGA and HDMI cables, the PTZ port and LAN port, USB port, and a power input. The unit can also be earthed if required. I've also taken a shot of the base of the DVR so you can see how the unit can be fixed with screws to the side of the wall or potentially upside down as well. So bearing that all in mind, now we can go and install the DVR. So the existing DVR was over here, and the network connection was just up there, which you can see is still running and it's pretty good. There's a little bit of a cable box kind of thing, which is just keeping all the connections tidy. So we want to install it in the same place, or at least that's what I want to do. I would want to keep the DVR on the left side to keep this top shelf open still, but this is quite a lot bigger, so I'll just disconnect all the cables from the existing cameras. This one, this is the network connection that we had on last time. That's connecting directly into the network, and this is the power and the old mouse. I do have a new mouse, not really sure whether I'm going to use it or not. Yeah. Okay, so obviously we still got the 8 channels like before. 4 of the channels will be 1080p cameras, and the other 3 are going to be the new 3K cameras. But we'll do a test run with the 1080p on one of the cameras, and then do the same camera on 3K and do a comparison so we can see how much better it is really. Yeah, okay. Alright, so this is all in. Now we have to run a power cable. I can get that in there. Oh, that's the power cable. The last thing we need is an HDMI. Right, so we've got the 8 channels of cameras down over here. These are the 8 channels of cameras. We've got the HDMI here and the internet down here, and I have plugged in the power. It's not plugged in at the moment, so what I'll do is I can plug that in now. It's not a big deal really. And yeah, now the next thing I have to do is I need to go get a screen, and I will get the screen and do the install. You can see already the network cable has started to work. So yeah. Okay, now that we are in the main screen of the setup wizard, what I'll do is I'll just show you quickly what you can expect in the setup. So you go through the first page and it will go through some information regarding how to follow the wizard. Okay, once you have done that, you'll go to the page where you'll be asked to set up a password. To my knowledge, you don't actually have to set up a password if you don't want to, but if you do, this will be the password that you will use to access the DVR and make changes on it as well. Okay, and then once you've done that, then you will see the general system configuration settings. Here you can set up the language, the video format, the resolution, time zone, time format, date format, service name, and the P2P ID. Basically, it's just general settings, and most of it you can even leave the same and change later on if you need to. Once you have done that, you will be able to set up an email. What this email will be used for is motion that has been detected from the cameras. It will just send you an email saying that motion has been detected at this time, etc. I personally did have a little bit of trouble trying to set this up, so I actually just went through it and never set it up and ended up setting it up later. The main issue that I had is that when you try and test the email, it will say failed because Gmail doesn't recognize this DVR as being a secure connection. So you'll have to go into the Gmail settings and do some adjustment there so that it works. I suspect that this is only with Gmail. I don't think it's with the other emails though. On the last 2 pages, the first one will be your NTP configuration. You usually don't have to do anything there, but in the DST configuration, which is your daylight savings time, you might want to enable that so that you don't have to change the times during different times of the year. Once you've set up the DSD configuration, the unit will restart and the cameras should automatically load up. So I just wanted to quickly show you how I've installed one of the 5 megapixel cameras. I had one camera already installed in the location where I wanted to put the new 5 megapixel camera. So what you can see me doing here is just taking off the old camera. It was stuck with a little bit of silicone, so I gave it a bit of a tap so that it would come out nicely. The next thing I did was I unscrewed the junction box where I actually connected the BNC cables, and they were also taped up as well so that there wouldn't be any water inside. So here I'm just basically taking off all the electrical tape which I had used to join the camera to the BNC cable, because I just found that this was a really good way of just keeping the water out, especially since we do wash our house sometimes, and sometimes we do use the water blaster. So by doing this and then putting silicone on the junction box, I find that the water is not able to enter, and it just generally stops the connection from rusting or from causing problems down the line. So you can see now I've connected the new camera and I'm screwing them, putting the new screws in. It's good to use stainless steel screws or at least galvanized screws, because if you use just a standard electrical screw, they will rust out. The good thing is that Swann provides all the things that you need to do the installation properly. It also comes with an Allen key, which is what you'll need to do all the adjusting for the 5 megapixel camera. So what I've done is I have just roughly adjusted the camera where I wanted it to be viewed, and then I have gone ahead and actually finished off the connection. So I've kind of put everything back in that junction box, taped it up and screwed it back on. Once I had done that, I took out my phone and used the app to adjust the positioning of the camera. So that was my little overview of the 5 megapixel Swann security camera. I really hope that it helps you. It's definitely a great contender and it's definitely worth looking into if you're looking at purchasing a security solution.